I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night wherever you may be watching this transmission. Tis I, Mike Martins. Guys, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and set your reminders for Mike in the Night this Saturday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be really good. We're going to have a ton of call-ins. I'm already lining up a lot of call-ins for that Saturday. And set your reminders all the way down till the next month and a half. So you're up to date with Mike in the Night and trends in the housing market. Last night was an absolute hit. Economic hitman. Wow. Anyways, guys, what is happening? Guys, I kind of want to talk about this because I've talked about this on the channel now for the last year and a half, 2 years, that oil cannot survive. We can't survive on the petrodollar is basically tanking. Oil is way below profit levels, and they're trying to frack themselves out of debt, which is not working either with fracking. Oh, that's become the biggest, let's produce more so we could get more into further debt, and we could just oversupply, and that's not working either. So nothing is working right now in oil with the oversupply right now, and countries kind of coming to the table and coming up with an agreement. Russia came up with an agreement finally over the last weekend, where Russia finally came up with an agreement and said, okay, let's take care of this. Let's bring this to the table. Let's fix our oil issue here, because oil is kind of tied to the COVID pandemic we're dealing with right now because of, the cutback on flights, people not traveling as much, and things going on right now, right? But a $19 barrel petrol, ain't good right now in 2020. In 2020, it ain't a good sign. So what is happening? U.S. plotting with COVID to overthrow Iran government. So this is from today. This is from The Stranger. If you're in downtown Seattle, walk around. You'll find newspaper little boxes, and you'll find The Stranger. It's like their local weekly rag, or quarter every 2 weeks. Is a bi-weekly rag that they have there? Really good one, too, to read. The Stranger. On April 14th, center-right blog The Hill posted a piece in the AJ Chasset that entirely described the Iranian COVID crisis from the perspective of the U.S., which is, according to this way of seeing the world, one that represents the universal perspective. So it just goes into kind of shedding a bit of light on how Iran's handling the COVID outbreak. What's been happening to their upper echelon or upper ministers have been tested positive with it. It's a long article. So I wanted to kind of throw this out there, but let's get into some meat and potatoes here. And here we go. Iran, intel, 11 Iranian ships harass U.S. vessel in Persian Gulf. So this is what's happening. The U.S. Fifth Fleet in Persian Gulf said today that 11 Iranian vessels repeatedly conducted dangerous and harassing approaches against multiple U.S. ships operating in international waters. So this is from today's date, and I thought I'd throw that out there today. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy vessel repeatedly crossed the bows and sterns of the U.S. vessel at extremely close range at high speeds. The U.S. Navy said in a statement that the 11 Iranian vessels came within an unsafe range of 6 American ships, including within 10 yards of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Maui. No injuries were reported. Why it matters? Tensions between the United States and Iran have continued to flare up across the region, despite the fact that both countries are mired in a fight against the COVID pandemic. President Donald Trump publicly warned Tehran against attacking U.S. troops and assets in Iraq earlier this month. And last month, a rocket attack on a U.S. base in Iran killed a U.S. soldier. U.S. airmen and British servicemen prompting Trump to retaliate by bombing the Iran-backed Kataib Hezbollah militia. The back and forth has persisted since December. And Trump went so far as to order to strike that killed Iranian Majgen Kem Soleimani, while the Quds Force commander was visiting Baghdad in January. What's next? In addition to the military tension, Tehran and Washington are locked in a battle over biting the U.S. sanctions. Iran has called for sanctions relief as it combats the COVID-19 pandemic. Medical supplies are not subject to sanctions under humanitarian exemptions. However, the Trump administration has insisted stepping up sanctions and is blocking Iran's $5 billion emergency request for International Monetary Fund loan to help fight COVID. Oh, come on, don't do that. A lot of innocent people's lives are on the block here. Like, a lot of innocent people die. When sanctions are implemented, guess what happens? Innocent people die. People don't get their vaccines. People don't get their medicines. People don't get their, especially people, a lot of people die of diseases that can be easily, not cured, but easily prevented if the right medications are in, like insulin. A lot of diabetics die because they ration insulin. They try to get insulin from different animals and stuff, and I don't know what they try to do to harvest or farm homemade insulin. I don't know, guys. A lot of innocent people die. Okay, here it is. Iran's aggression continues even amid the COVID maximum pressure. This is today's date again. In the early days of January, President Trump authorized the killing of Iran's top military commander, Qasem Soleimani, citing the need to reestablish deterrence after the Iran proxy in Iraq killed an American contractor. Yet, months later, and under the shadow of the COVID pandemic, Iran hawks in the Trump administration. And their cheerleaders in Washington continue to argue that their approach is working, but the continued escalation by Iran and its proxies in the region suggests otherwise. So Iranian vessels aggressively, we got that already. So recent events clearly demonstrate that Iran has not been cowed, and to be sure, Tehran never planned to capitulate while the United States continued to implement its maximum pressure strategy and impose sanctions. Instead, the regime was carefully planning and executing a strategy based on calculated and calibrated actions. And the outbreak of the pandemic provides Iran with some opening. Iran is eager to distract from its own botched response to COVID, which has cost thousands of Iranian lives and laid bare to the regime's incompetence. So there's a lot of things happening in Iran. I think most of it is not Iran's fault per se. I think most of it has to do with the underdevelopment in some of the hospitals. I mean, in Tehran, there's probably some super advanced hospitals. No question of a doubt. Medicine, advanced everything, biolabs, everything. But I'm thinking like, in outer regions of from the capital, you'll have some second, third rate hospitals and not up to speed to or have the safety nets in place to deal with this COVID pandemic. America needs on Iran consensus. The current debate over whether the United States should ease sanctions against Iran in light of the latter's struggles with COVID reflects a broader reality. More than 4 decades after the 1979 Iranian Revolution, we still lack consensus about the nature of the regime in Tehran and how to deal with it. For Iran, we need something like akin to the Cold War consensus of decades ago, when our two political parties agreed that America's biggest global challenge was Soviet-led communism, and that Washington would defund itself and its allies by containing the Soviets. So the Americans just basically kept upgrading, and the Soviets couldn't keep up military-wise upgrading, and that's what brought the fall to. Well, there was many reasons too, internal economic, poor economic decisions made by the Soviet Union during the Cold War, especially during the Reagan administration, that was done in Russia, that kind of brought Russia to its knees, Mother Russia to its knees. But it's since then rebuilt, and it's pursuing better ventures in the right way, not as aggressive, but still being strong, still being a backbone. Still having its backbone, still militarily a threat, still militarily advanced, still, on its way, to becoming, it is a superpower, but now, they've been smart lately. They've been buying gold. They've been selling off U.S. treasuries. They've been buying gold. Lots of things, that makes Russia good, and what they've been up to, right? For Iran, we need something. Okay, we got that. Such in Iran is long overdue ever since the revolution of 1979 that ousted the U.S.-backed Saha and ushered in a terror-sponsoring, hegemony-seeking, nuclear weapons-aspiring, anti-Western theocracy. Washington has pursued a confused, disjointed, meandering approach toward the Islamic Republic. So, to nurture Iran's consensus, especially in a time of bitter partnership in Washington, the man elected president in November should consider appointing a bipartisan commission of foreign policy elders, former secretaries of state, national security advisors, and so on, to consider the nature of Iran's regime. Clearly, delented the challenge it poses. Delineates, the challenge. And outline an approach around which the country can't broadly rally. So here's the message, guys, from this. Realistically, Iran, Venezuela, every country on the planet cannot survive on a $19 barrel of oil. It's not going to fly. There's a lot of work involved when extracting oil. There's a lot of work involved when transporting oil. There's a lot of work involved when even putting oil in reserves, believe it or not. There's a lot of work involved. A lot of transportation, a lot of logistics. And oil at $19 a barrel in the year 2020, 50 years ago, people would have laughed at that and said, that's impossible. How would it hedge against inflation? They try to overfrack to make it up, and it doesn't work. It's been a disaster since. And our friends China, I love China, has been in nothing but trouble. China's military advances under cover of COVID. As worldwide panic over COVID dominates the media, China quietly builds up its military. While the world is preoccupied with the COVID, China is quietly expanding its power around the world. Chinese President Xi Jinping has seized this opportunity to intimidate Taiwan, influence Europe, modernize its military, and entrench itself deeper into the South China Sea. While the world finally became aware of its crisis within China's borders, with the rapid spread of the virus, the WHO said, this is nice. Don't worry. This is okay. China's doing a great job. Several speculated that this could be an undoing of the Communist Party. It was even dubbed China's Chernobyl moment. But a different reality is emerging. Instead of being its undoing, the Communist Party has used the crisis to cement its position within its borders and beyond. In doing so, it has left the world superpower, the United States, looking fragile and weak. So this is it here. As Washington falters, Beijing is moving quickly and adaptly to take advantage of the opening created by U.S. mistakes, filling the vacuum to position itself as a global leader. In pandemic's response, it is working to tout its own system, provide material assistance to other countries, and even organize other governments. The sheer chutzpah of China's move is harder to overstate. After all, it was Beijing's own missteps, especially its efforts at the first to cover up the severity of the spread of the outbreak, that helped create the very crisis now afflicting much of the world. Yet Beijing understands that if it's seen as leading, and Washington is seen as unable and unwilling to do so, this perception could fundamentally alter the United States' position in global politics and the contest for leadership in the 21st century. China is using the COVID to make its global ambitions a reality. So China has been threatening the globe for a long time. The U.S. is preparing for war. The United States has been aware that China's actions on March 4th of the House of Representatives that passed the Taipei Act, Taiwan Allies International Protection and Enhancement Initiative, which was later signed into law by U.S. President Donald Trump. The bill acknowledges continued U.S. support for Taiwan and promises to help advance Taiwan's international standing, says Senator Cory Gardner, who co-wrote the act, said that the legislation will send a strong message to the nations that there will be consequences for supporting Chinese actions that undermine Taiwan. The act could also lead the U.S. to reducing its economic, security, and diplomatic interactions with nations that oppose the Taiwanese independence. So this is a big one here. And prophetic significance. So what are they prophesizing? The trumpet. I thought it was Trump. The trumpet watches China's military buildup and leadership on the global stage because of end-time prophecies about China. Our free booklet, Russia, blah, blah, blah. There are two major time prophecies that China will play a role in. The first, found in Isaiah. So it gets into military stuff here. But I wanted to kind of throw this out there because this is a big deal. The Chinese CPP communism, that's the code right there, is up to no good, and they haven't been up to no good in a while now. Yeah. And plus, with the U.S. seeing the undervalued price of oil and people rushing to the pumps to fill up their cars, who knows what's going to happen, guys? Is there war on the horizon? Are we looking at hot war? Could the U.S. survive off a $19 U.S. off a barrel of oil? Could Canada survive off their oil? What is it? $6.30 a barrel? Let's find out, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to go to here. Set your reminders for Mike and the Knights, and set your reminders for other shows I'm going to have coming up here in the upcoming live streams area. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you to my Patreon supporters that have been supporting me. It means a lot. It's covering my internet bill. Woo! Thank you so much, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Big hug. Lots of love.